So, namaste and warm good evening, everyone. This is your host Neha Jha, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all to the 48th series of Tech Webinar Nepal. This webinar series is going to be on the topic AR, VR space and career choices. Tech Webinar Nepal aims to build a strong online and technical community and share information about how to use tools and techniques in a productive way. Our target attendees are students, software developers, programmers, team leaders, project managers, recruiter learning, and all the individuals who are determined to learn. Today, we have a very special guest with us. He is none other than Mr. Anil Sapkota, technical author at Freedom Learning. Mr. Sapkota is an educator, first entrepreneur who lies at the intersection of design, technology, and social innovation. Previously, he worked in a cloud engineer at Microsoft. After finding his newfound interest in XR, he pivoted to learn XR technology at XR and then worked at a startup, Bad VR, as a project manager focused on developing data visualization tools using XR technology. Currently, he works as an instructional designer focusing on immersive technology and is a mentor of XR helping educators embrace XR technology in their classrooms. In his free time, you will find him writing articles about game-based learning gamification via his LinkedIn newsletter, Transformative Learning. He's also Unity certified VR educator. He's going to give an introduction to AR VR technology. Similarly, he's also going to be talking about web-based demo use cases and career choices and how to prepare it. So after this discussion, we'll have a short Q&A session and then we'll be concluding today's discussion. So now, without any further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Sapkota, and the platform is all yours, sir.
Oh, all right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining from. Thank you for tuning into this talk today. And thank you, Tech Webinar Nepal and Jay Raj and the team behind for actually bringing me to okay. Yeah, so today's talk actually is going to be about XR and career choices. So I will try to keep it very breadth heavy without getting into more details so I can encompass as much of audience as I can. It's going to be mostly technical, but I would like to see other verticals as well to integrate into this so they could see a potential how they could use this technology in their platform as well. For the agenda itself, I'll be talking about my journey into XR and also what is metaverse, the introduction to AR, VR, and MR, and maybe we'll do some demonstrations and what are the career choices that are available out there, and maybe a deep dive into some of the career choices. And hopefully at the end of the session, I'll also be sharing some resources about how to get started. And finally, we'll conclude with the Q&A. Okay. So my journey into XR, if you see, it's not a straight path. It's very windy and looks like a very windy road from Nepal, I would say. Uh, I actually initially started as a Microsoft engineer in a cloud vertical doing virtual machines, mostly in Azure space. That's when I was looking at the SharePoint, I stumbled into a thing called HoloLens. So this is the HoloLens, is Microsoft proprietary augmented mixed reality headset. And that's when I started developing my interest in it. And that was actually 2 years ago, 2020, during the pandemic. And after learning about the HoloLens and what it can do, I was really interested and I was looking for resources to get myself skilled in that field. And that's how I came into XR um, as a student. Currently, I work as a trainer there, but I came in initially as a student. So I'm actually a graduate of XR myself as well. After joining the XR bootcamp, I did the developer bootcamp, and I was really excited. I actually did a business side of it too, and also finally ended up doing a design side. I wanted to learn everything about XR. I was just passionate about it. Uh, Along that line, I also worked at GMG, which is Girls Make Games, uh, primarily teaching kids how to make games. I wanted to get into that because the XR industry and gaming industry is very much related. Actually, I want to say the gaming industry is the one that helped to develop the XR technology at the moment. And along that path, I also worked as a bad VR PM project manager. So mostly bad VR is a data visualization company that primarily helps develop the data space in XR technology. So using a spatial mapping. But due to injury, I had to get back from the job market, and then I think that's when I started learning more about XR because in my free time, I started coding and documenting the stuff, prototyping games and putting out in the GitHub. Also, sometimes I was blogging, trying to make videos, just so that I could actually understand myself, what I'm learning, and also in teaching other, I actually learn better. And finally, I ended up actually taking a VR educator course from Unity, and that's when I had a holistic understanding of everything coming into a piece. And then finally, I ended up getting a call from Exarterra saying, hey, we need a mentor to help upskill a next generation of people into XR. And that's when I'm currently at. And still to this day, I'm still learning prototyping and developing. And let's take a look at what metaverse is, because I think this is a very hyped up term. Everybody might be hearing about it. So metaverse sounds very technical term, especially with the Facebook rebranding itself as Meta. But the term itself originated in 1992 as a sci-fi novel called Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. So it's not a technical term. Actually, it came out of literature, sci-fi literature for sure. So metaverse is a concept of persistent online 3D world that combines multiple virtual spaces. So user can traverse through virtual world where people can represent themselves by avatars and communicate with each other and use digital currency to buy things. So hopefully that's where the blockchain or cryptocurrency piece comes in. This is a very dystopian view of the upcoming form of the internet. If we were to take a look at how the internet evolved, right? The Web 1.0 was very read heavy. We used to just consume the content. The Web 2.0 was both reading versus writing. So with the advent of Wikipedia, LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, Quora, you name it. Now there are like TikTok, I guess there are a lot of creators too, right? Still 2D though. The whatever we are doing is very much 2D within a flat screen. The Web 3.0 is going to be experiential heavy, and it's going to be very much a 3D and also very much a community driven kind of atmosphere. So that's what the metaverse is aiming for. And if you were to look at the slide deck, there are a few examples of it. And so there's a real-time creating and collaboration. You can see that in the bottom one, with the course, you can see the person driving the car, but they are not actually in the car, but they could sense that they are actually inside the car. It's very interactive and immersive. And the metaverse also could be a physical and a digital world coming together, you know. And also that this is where we will see technologies like beaming, where a person at home using a virtual things, they can control real robots or physical goods at somewhere. I actually had seen a little clip during the pandemic, somewhere in Japan, a grocery stalker couldn't go into the store because of the pandemic. So they had developed a technology in which they would be able to virtually, feels like playing a game. They would stock the groceries, which was very interesting to me. And I think we'll see that beaming technology coming pretty soon. Now, into the next, XR is another term that's being floated out a whole lot. So what on earth is XR, right? XR is actually an umbrella term for AR, VR, and MR. So VR being virtual reality, AR being augmented reality, MR being mixed reality. And I'll actually be deep diving into each of these concepts. Um, so what is AR, right? AR is actually a short form for augmented reality. Augmented reality, so it's basically an overlay of digital content on top of your real world. It can be experienced by mobile devices like smartphones, tablets, or even the wearable AR, um, glasses like HoloLens, and Magic Leap, and sometimes maybe even through like Snap glasses. Okay, so if you were to take a look at this example here on the screen, the it is using the image tracking. So basically, there's an image, and then person using through cell phone or through a glasses is able to see a 3D model of an object overlaid on top of the actual picture, right? And actually, AR is what is used in QR technology as well. So we've seen QR in a lot of places, like for payments, websites, and stuff. Um, and actually, you might be using AR without even knowing it. Okay. So if you were to go into your uh, Zoom chat and go into your video settings, and I were to go into background effects, and if I were to select, like, I could put on the glasses in real time, like using the AR filter, right? Or I could have a puppy on my side, okay? Uh, so basically, this is overlaying the the digital content on top of your real uh, video feed, I would say. Um, so what is VR? VR is a technology that enables a person to interact with the artificial 3D world. It immerses the user in CG-generated world and allows them to actually receive sensor input via HMD. So HMD would be head-mounted display, something like what I have is Oculus Quest. So somebody would put in and they would be able to see the 3D stereoscopic video, which allows them to make feel like they are actually immersed in a virtual environment or virtual world, right? The two important aspects of VR are like immersion and present, which allows them to make them feel like they are in that space. With concepts like embodied cognition, you can embody to be somebody else. Something that I recently did was actually a movie called Goliath. It's a VR movie which allows you to be actually a person with schizophrenia. So you can sense what it feels like to have that disability, I guess. And it is based on a true story of an online gamer called Glad. Um, the VR is very useful. I would say there's a framework by Jeremy Bellinson, which uses a framework called DICE, which is dangerous, impossible, counterproductive, expensive, or rare. So if we were to use this technology, how would it be used for genders? Like, let's say a flight simulator training. It's very risky to train a rookie to fly a real plane, but it's very easy for somebody who's rookie to put on a VR headset with some physical controls they can actually play and sense what it's like to be flying a plane. The impossible. Uh, I don't know what it feels like to be a woman and who are groped into physical spaces, crowded spaces, or sexually harassed, or maybe what it feels like to be a minority population, what it feels like to be a disabled person, right? What it feels like to be of different race. That's actually impossible. I cannot change my skin all of a sudden and feel or experience those sort of uh, feeling, right? And that's where I think the VR helps us to embody somebody, be somebody. You know, I've seen a few experiences where people try to experience what it feels like to be a baby, like being in a VR, they actually become a baby, and what it feels like to look at those uh, parents who are way up there, right? And there's so many use cases I can think of. Counterproductive would be like, hey, we want to test what it feels, how it feels in your lungs when you're smoking like 20 packs of cigarettes a day. Very counterproductive to learn that lesson. But with VR and simulations, people can do it. Inexpensive or rare, let's say you want to onboard your people, um, a new employee, by going into Mount Everest, or you want to take your mom to Japan. It's very easy to get in a VR and put on a headset and experience that social space together, right? Next, I have is a little demonstration of what the AR and VR is. If you were to use your phone and scan it, it should take you to a platform called Post Reality, and you can continue to experience it using. You can download the app called Post Reality, and you can continue as a guest to actually see and experience. Um, and let's see here. And I'm gonna give some time here just so people can try. So basically what I've created is a little demonstration of the augmented reality and virtual reality in post reality app, which allows you to actually bring those digital content to your space. And I actually made a content about AR VR, so you can actually learn while you're experiencing it with your phone or devices that you have. So if you want to try later as well, that's fine. I will be jumping into to show what it feels like if you don't want to try it. Um, so in my post reality app, uh, let me see here. I think I should be sharing my device. Am I sharing, Jay? Can you confirm like if I'm sharing?
Yeah, yeah,
No, am I sharing with the post reality? Do you see this tiger?
yeah, yeah. We are seeing.
Okay. All right. So uh you would be so if you were to use this using that QR code and scan, you would be actually be bringing this tiger into your space. And then also there is a video of a VR app that I have added, which is a 360 video that I added just so that you can learn what are AR and VR in real life. And this was created under an hour or so. I was able to add a 3D model of tiger. You would also be hearing a sound if you were to actually scan the QR code. For now, I'm not putting on the sound in here. And you would be actually spawning. So it's just like a gaming term. You would be spawning, seeing those content in front of you. And let's do so. Another concept is MR, which is mixed reality. So mixed reality is where I think the future would be headed, where the virtual objects interact with the real objects. So if you were to take a look at this example on the lower left, which is a person playing the piano, um, actually that piano is not a real piano. It's a virtual piano, and they are using a real hand, and using the spatial mapping, the app would be able to detect where those fingers are, and you would be getting a auditory sense, and you would actually feel like you're actually playing piano, right? Same with the top example of the people playing chess. If you look at the background itself is a real background. It's a real table, and then they were able to overlay those digital human from different places. They were able to connect together, come to the same space, and play games. Or even this example at the lower right, where a person is using a headset and then playing a real piano, but they are seeing a virtual overlay of the notes or stuff they want to play with. Okay. So I think mixed reality is the future, and I've seen currently like the Magic Leap and Microsoft getting to the space of developing a mixed reality headset is a big thing because they are betting a lot of money on this technology to be going forward. So yeah, we learn about XR, the AR, VR, MR, but why does it matter? So I think this graph shows that why it matters. This is actually from 2020, the Deloitte report. If you see, uh, there's a whole lot of big share of market that's coming actually into AR, VR spaces. So if we were to take out gaming, I already said that gaming is the pioneering technology that helped to come up to here because a lot of things, especially with the development of the GPUs, the uh, the cloud renderings and stuff. All of this technology is coming forward now. Although the XR technology was developed in 1965, the VR technology itself, it took around this time to actually mature because it was able to get into a public's hand. People could buy Oculus Quest for 299. It used to be 299, but now I think it's 399. And everybody has a smartphone which is AR capable. Okay. Um, I think if we were to take out the games, the a big market after media and entertainment would be industrial and manufacturing, architecture. Education is a big place where there's a lot of investment for XR space. The immersive learning platform is coming up. Medical, I've seen people are developing like the surgery simulations, the patient dialogue interactions, those sort of training modules in the XR space. So it's very cost effective. Okay. And also retail. I've seen a lot of AR, what I showed in the previous slide. AR would be used for branding and self-learning. So if you see, this is a hyper reality documentary about what a dystopian future it would be, which is crazy. But you would be able to pick an item using your AR glasses, and you would be able to see maybe the product ingredients or what are the calorie restrictions, what are some of the items that you want to see, or even the branding. Um, I think uh, another thing that we have learned is after 2020, there are like 50.2 million VR users and 83.7 million AR users in US alone. And by 2026, the market size is predicted to be over $397 billion. So I think that's a huge amount of money that's going to get invested by the time. And big players like Microsoft, Meta, Google, you name it, everybody is actually investing in it as this technology will be maturing and get into a common people's hand, right? So I'll show you some real world use cases here today as well. So let me stop sharing and then I will reshare with audio. All right. I think, let me know if you can see the slide back.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The first example I will show is a very emotional one. This is by a Korean family. Let me know if you can see the video as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You can see, okay. Actually, this girl is actually dead. I don't know what happened to her, but she was dead. And then the women, a Korean team of engineers and developers, they wanted to use VR for social good, and they wanted to actually help the women go through that bereavement process by bringing her child in real life so that she could actually sense and see her presence as if she is there. But in fact, she's actually just putting on a VR headset and using the haptic gloves. She's able to actually sense what it feels like to have her child in her lap. Stop there. The another one is the AR one, and then this is
Hey,
the
IKEA would
IKEA.
like everyone to
Sorry.
know about Place, our new augmented reality app. Built on Apple's new AR kit, you can easily place true to scale 3D models of IKEA furniture in your place. Scan, browse, select, move, and place. So that could mean less of this. And less of this. And probably more of this. We want to make it easier for people everywhere.
Okay, hopefully you get the idea of what place would be. So you'd basically scan a room, and then you'd be able to put a furniture in the real world scale. So you know what it feels like to have furniture. Maybe even those measurements would work. Can you feed that? Can you actually accommodate a new sofa or couch you bought from the store? you know. And even health and using for like soft training,
Every day at the
soft
corporate
skill
office,
training,
we make decisions that
where
impact the team members at the hotel.
they're trying to actually experience what
So
it
we
feels
really
like
needed
to
to make
be a
sure that our
busser or
corporate team
runner
members
or a staff
understand the
attendant or a
complexity of
hospitality
working in a
worker.
hotel. Oculus for Business has really shifted the way we work. We can truly upskill team members faster and really focus on empathy building, which was a game changer for us.
We then said we can use this tool to be able to really help our team members practice different scenarios of building empathy with our guests and make sure that we are delivering best-in-class service.
Hi, I'm here to check in.
If we were to try to do this in a traditional setting, when you have 400,000 team
You get the idea. So basically, it's you can use this for anything, like for trainings and stuff. So many things, so many avenues and potentials you can use in the AR to VR, from the immersive movies to branding to marketing to, and even like nowadays they're using the VR technology for people to actually experience what their houses feel like, how they want to explore even before it is constructed. So that they can change their plans and ideas when they are designing the spaces. Okay. Uh,
Hey, IKEA would like everyone to know about.
sorry, I think it went to.
What is that?
Okay, now let's take a look at some of the careers in XR. So if you're coming from a creative discipline, of course the UI UX designer, the XR game designer, there's data visualizer. So instead of looking at the data in a graph and chart, people would be actually seeing a data in a spatial setting. Okay, there are technical writers, the mostly a prototypers too. And in terms of technical, there are like software developers, AR, VR, support maintenance, XR tool engineers, gameplay engineers. And from the business side, there are like product management, the project management, business development, customer success, so many verticals and so many spaces, I would say. Um, and some of the unknown or unexplored careers are like AI researcher, because I think XR is very much dependent on AI technology. Even the researcher, there's a lot of field like cognitive research, psychological research that's being done to see how we sense things, how we perceive things inside the XR technology, and how it affects us. You know, um, so these are the career choices. But how do I get started? So what I would say is like the first step to actually get into this, or what helped me actually, was to play with the XR experiences that is out there. You don't have to buy Oculus Quest yet. You know, there are web XR experiences, the AR experiences with your smartphone, which you already have. You can play with the AR experiences that's available out there. Okay. And the next step after that you can do is learn about the game engines like Unity, Unreal, Babylon.js, 3JS. So if you're more into application programmers, Unity and Unreal might be a way to go. If you're coming from a web dev side, Babylon.js or 3JS is a web framework. Okay. At the same time, if you're more creative and you want to create arts and assets, the Blender, Maya, 3ds Max might be a way to go. Even AR, like creating AR is very easy, especially with the Spark AR, which is from Facebook or Meta, which they call now, and the Snapline Studio. And I think TikTok also released their the XR, the AR creative creation platform. I think it's called Effects House Effects or Effects House. And then if you want to go more immersive, then you can actually buy Oculus Quest 2 and play with it, you know. And I think at the moment, although I despise Meta for privacy and stuff, but this is the cheapest solution to actually experience VR at the moment. And now, what are some of the skills for designing, right? So if you let's say you were to take a UX path and you want to be a designer, so I think a UX designer becomes a world designer because you are actually designing the environment, and also the interaction designer would be physical interaction designer, because in VR or AR, it replicates the real world physics. Sometimes it doesn't have to be, but the affordances or stuff that matters is the physical interaction, because I would be using a haptic gloves, and I will be, when I, let's say I cross this bottle, I want to cross and feel what it feels like in the real world as well. Okay. So you'd be designing things with the physical affordances. Let's say I want to open the door, then I would be going in and then grabbing the handle and opening the door. So I should be designing these interactions and what it feels like. Is is the door too far, or is the height of the deck too low? So you have to think this accessibility stuff too when you're designing as a design. Okay. And same with the thing is you'd be storyboarding, um, you know, basic in your paper or sketches, or you could even use apps like Steps XR, which allows you to storyboard in a 3D. Then you do a user flow of it, the physical prototyping and digital prototyping. I created, and I'm gonna show how I started. When I was designing it, I actually created a small prototype of an AR app called Bhaktapur, which was basically me prototyping to see if I can, hey, create this in Figma. And I was able to create a short, small replica of, hey, what it would be like to sense an AR app of a cultural monument of Nepal. Excuse me. Um, Yeah, I was able to get into Figma. I actually downloaded, I'll show you a little flow of it, although I will not go into details. I actually downloaded a 360 photo of I think, the Durbar Square, and I basically put an overlay of what I want to show. And for each overlay, I developed this cards with information. And hey, it probably took me 2 or 3 hours, but I was able to develop that prototype pretty soon. Um, the next path is the developer path. And for developers, I think you could come in as a C# developer, C++ developer, or JavaScript if you're coming from web. Right now, the OpenXR framework is being developed, and when I was using it, it was built on Unity's XR interaction toolkit. So Unity is the game engine, and mostly the development side would involve coding those interactions that I was talking. Okay. I'll show you an example of uh, I created a fun bowling app in a space, right? And I actually had to use a C# code to basically code that grabbing interactions, also the friction, also making sure that using the physics those balls collide, and also the balling would happen. So all this minor details and stuff. So you would use a 3D math, you would use some design aspect, but you would mostly be coding about the physics interaction in XR space. Um, Let me close that. Now, the I was going to include this demonstration of a simple AR app creation. JG, can you give me a time? Am I good with the time, or how does it look like?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay. If that's the case, then let me share. Actually, let me put that in a chat where you can go, and we'll create the copy link, and I'm sharing, and you can follow with me about creating a simple AR app here on the fly. I don't think you need a login to actually get in. If so, you can just create a simple login. This is by World Class Studio. So if you are in this place, you can actually get started without even logging, I think. I will go into Object Visualization Studio. I'll click on it. It will play a little
You've
demo.
selected Showcast.
I probably don't need it. You can name, I don't know, maybe so today's cocktail. I don't know if there's a pro that we can find in online. Let's do feed. So I basically am gonna press and create. And then voila, there's a space where I can actually bring in a 3D model. And maybe you might not be able to follow along with me, but if you were to do it later, because I already have a Sketchfab login. So Sketchfab is a place where you can actually get a 3D model, free 3D models. Uh, and I can actually, since I'm already authenticated with Sketchfab, I'll try to bring in a crow. Let's see if there is. And I do see there is a crow that I can bring in. So let's see. I don't, okay, let's do this. And I can actually see what that crow is like in real time. Okay, so this is a crow. And I think this is animated too. Okay, perfect. I can import in here. And it is uploading. Of course, it is taking some time. And you can see that I actually have a 3D model of a crow and it's animated. And I'm actually using my scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And using this rotation, I can rotate too if I want to. But I'm okay with that. You know, I just want to bring in a crow in my living space. Okay, so once I bring in the crow, what I can do is I can actually save the cast. I can save and publish. And it will take some time to actually save and check out. And this is the QR code. And if you were to use this QR code at the moment using your phone or so, you can actually bring in a crow to your space. And I will allow you guys to actually try it because my phone is not connected with the demonstration purpose, but you're happy to play with it and let me know if you can see it. I don't think this needs a download because this is actually made in WebXR. So it might ask you for permission to actually use your camera and probably just uses your camera authentication. And once that is done, you can scan the room and you can actually bring in this 3D model that I created. Uh, you can see it in your living space. You don't have to be in my living space. So you can basically create and share with other people on the fly. Um, let's see, I'll share this in the chat as well, in case you want to try later. Now let's go in here. Now, okay, so we learned all of these cool things, all of this stuff, but I'm still overwhelmed. Where do I start? Where can I learn about XR technology? So there are a few resources that I have actually found very useful in my journey. I think a wonderful course to start from Coursera, if you can really audit the course, is Extended Reality for Everybody, specialization. It actually talks about what XR is. So even if you're a beginner, you had no idea what XR is, it actually helps you to get started with learning about the concepts of XR. And then the second module, I think, second specialization is actually about user experience and designing. Third experience is actually about third course is actually about developing it using Unity, Unreal, or they even go into WebXR. So you don't have to have a headset to try. You can actually practice XR skills on the web itself. The another one that I found was very useful was for especially for people who want to get into who already have a VR headset like this, Oculus. There is a free module from Unity called Create with VR, and I think it's over 10 or 20 hours of course that you can learn about all the aspects of designing a VR experience. So you actually physically design a room or an experience inside the VR. And another resource is this by one of my friends who created UX of XR. She's Elitia. She actually writes a lot about user experience in XR. And she has created a course, a self-paced free course. Most of the courses are actually free. Actually to get started into designing XR spaces. And also from Microsoft, there is a tutorial called create your first Weber experiences using Babylon.js. And I think it actually shows you how to create a virtual keyboard using this platform. And I will be sharing the links here in the chat. Um, Actually, I will share it as we go into Q&A. And then finally, um, thank you. Finally, as a token of thank you, I actually created for the upcoming TR Baitika, I created a Spark AR effect where it helps you to celebrate a Baitika with somebody like me who is living abroad. My sister is in Nepal. I would be able to experience having a tika on the forehead using the uh, this effect, you know. So I created this using a Spark AR. Didn't take me more than an hour. But what I encourage you out there is like, hey, try new stuff, play with it, and explore it, you know, and you can make it useful to whatever field you are interested in. For me, like, hey, I want to see if I can bridge the gap between with me and my sister using this. And I took another approach. Hey, okay, how can I create an AR experience that allows me to promote my cultural heritage to other folks here? That's when I created a Figma prototype of the Bhaktapur. And then I was just playing and goofing around, trying to say, hey, can I play bowling in VR or in space? And so I tried to personalize those VR or AR prototypes, and that helped me to learn and be excited instead of just blatantly following a tutorial and just getting into a tutorial hell. And with that, I think I will open up the room for question and answer.
Yeah, so I have one question. So you showed about that grow. So just I opened the link, it was showing the grow, right? Just I have a just it came on my mind that can we integrate IoT with that means what was shown on the visual? Is there is a chance to integrate the IoT plus the VR type of thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the few slides ago, if you remember, I was telling about the story of the during the pandemic in Japan, people couldn't go into a grocery store because there was a shortage of workers. So they actually developed a robot, which would actually take in a virtual input from a person in home stocking a grocery. So absolutely, I think the technology is called beaming technology, where you would be beaming your interaction to IoT or sensor devices. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And what is the possibility of learning AI with VR and AR? So right now the hype is about machine learning AR, right? AI. So Miss, how we can learn both simultaneously?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a whole lot of avenue, especially with you've seen the Midjourney, the DALL-E, and then also the generative AI. There's a whole lot of use cases in a real-time rendering, like VR or AR, and you could actually um, at the moment, I was able to get into VR space and customize it as per my need, but I had to physically do it. But then with the AR, I think it's going to be a very personalized experience. I can like the I've already seen a demonstration from Meta. They're actually creating a virtual space on the fly just using the voice command and using those the natural language processing and AI and also the understanding. The AI was able to generate a virtual space within a fly. So I don't know if there's a resource out there to actually see where we can use to learn out there. Personally, I don't know the resource where you could learn both AI and AR, but I see a lot of use cases of AI in XR space.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is about how do you see the market of AR VR in Nepal, as well as Miss, how is the market of AR VR in abroad where you are staying, and what suggestion will you give for the developers of here to learn or to establish or to research on this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a huge market for AR/VR. From my research, when I did this, when I was creating presentation, and also prior to that, the AR/VR engineers demand is like 70, risen by 1700. That's not 100, that's not 200, that's 1700%. Because I think that's where the future is heading. And in terms of Nepal, where I see a lot of potential, I think the first industry that Nepal itself could embrace would probably be architecture or mostly engineers, because especially for construction, interior designers, they could use that space to actually sell their 3D models, or maybe their virtual walkthroughs of house or stuff that they want to create, um, even before it is being constructed. Another space I see, because most of the roles within AR VR space is very remote, so I don't see that Nepali engineers can't work abroad. I think that there's a huge push even from Geo, which is they are developing a platform called Tesseract in India from Reliance, and they're constantly hiring, looking for people to actually grow in the space. Um, Overall, I see there's a whole lot of potential. And another thing is we are just exploring. It's in a very, remember like back in 2000 when websites were just developing, and Facebook and Instagram were just developing, platform was just developing. So I think there is a whole lot of untapped economy or untapped way to utilize this technology that we haven't seen yet.